I ran out of batteries. So our next speaker is Andrew Popov. He's the CTO of DRM, and he's going to be talking about content protection and MPEG dash.
Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. So, quick introduction. Well, first, quick thank you to Alex and Ali to putting all this event together and bring all the great minds in one room to share the knowledge. So, I'm very encouraged, and it's a great opportunity for learning. So, we will talk about the DRM. And the DRM, I will say, is no longer four-word. No longer four-letter word. It has been improved dramatically over the time, and I would say, with the great adoption in the industry and improvements and deployments on the different client sides, bringing the DRM to the support native platforms natively. End users doesn't even notice that they're playing the DRM content. So it's quite remarkable today. And it's also essential puzzle in the whole ecosystem and infrastructure for the studios to deliver the valuable assets to the end users. And now, when we speak about the HDR and UHD content, it's also very essential. So, how that all relates to the Dash and what Dash does and what is the standards there. So let's deep dive into that. So Dash IF do not intend to specify full end-to-end DRM system, rather to provide framework for multiple DRMs to protect Dash content with a single common key. That's a very important aspect. So today we can use single key, encrypt content once, and then distribute it to the multiple platforms which are DRM specific. So common encryption standard, on the other hand, specifies how you need to encrypt content specifically. In the Dash IF, we specify protection system specific information and the information which you need to place in the MPD, the manifest. As I mentioned, the content encryption specification specifies how exactly the content is encrypted. So, common encryption specify the null structure video and encrypting the content with the IES 128 CTR mode. It also supports CBC mode, and now that's one of the challenge which industry facing today in terms of the efficiency and in terms of the actually price, because you have to consider, how you scale the encrypted content delivery to the end users. And it affects the storage because you have to store different types of encrypted content in the CTR mode or CBC mode. So there is a notion right now that we have to work with the Dash IF to specify also the CBC mode. So I'm sure there will be more work to be done on that sense, and ideally we would like to see one encryption mode and to remove all the hassles related to storing different instances of the encrypted content. It also specifies support for decryption of the single representation by multiple DRM systems, key rotation, and the XML syntaxes to expressing the default key IDs attributes and the PSSH elements in the MPD. So simple diagram basically showing the essential parts and the components. So we have the encryptor, which encrypts the assets. The dash clear content goes as an input, and common key ID and the common ISCTR, which is 128-bit key. At the end, we receive the MPD with all required signaling inside, with the protection-specific system header and the encrypted content. It supports full sample encryption and also subsample encryption. So the baseline technology which is used is the content protection descriptor in the manifest, which specify URI for signaling of specific DRM is used, which means you can have the MPD with a different signaling information related to each DRM system. Is it play ready, wide wine, fair play, and then players by fetching the MPD knows which information to use in order to acquire the license. It's also specify encryption parameters and default key IDs, license acquisition data, keys for each DRM in the format of the protection system specific box. There is also a working group which works with the content protection information exchange format, and that allows multiple entities in the ecosystem to exchange the DRM keys, which are required to protect the content. Now, the content protection information exchange format basically document containing the keys and DRM information, and also provides the secure way how to exchange this information. Make sure it's all encrypted and authenticated, where each entity can receive the required information while they processing the content. Some high-level information flow, and which talks about how to acquire the DRM license. So the player basically receives the MPD, which is manifest, do the verification of the system ID, which means it checks which DRM does it support, takes the initialization segment with the default key IDs, contact the license server, providing all the required information to the license server, to the specific license server, play ready, wide wine, or fair play, return the license response back to the player. Now, the DRM client, this is just an abstraction. It could be run on the natively or the CDM or in other ways. That the entity responsible for actually receiving the license and decrypting the content. Today, for example, can be done in the trusted execution environment, specifically important for the UHD content. So all that key decryption and the sample decryption can be run in the trusted execution environment, and then provided through the secure pipeline back to the player to decode the samples. So if we're talking about the MPD, so the MPD contains the signaling of the content encryption and key management methods used to help the receiving client to determine if it can possible to play back the content. So the MPD elements to be used are the content decryption elements. As I mentioned, it specifies which specifically the DRM is used, and it used the proprietary protection system specific header box. So in that place specified either it's a play ready, wide wine, or fair play, and that what used by player in order to request the license from the license servers. There is also one topic which is specified by -IF is the transport security in HTTP-based delivery, basically using the HTTPS. However, there is some impact of using HTTPS, but today it's mandated, so there is no way how we can avoid that. But to keep in mind that there is some concerning points, and one specific are, the efficiency. It's sort of like redundancy, right? Because we encrypt the actual samples, they already encrypted, there is no way how you can get to the samples, and also you add additional latency for every single request. Just to prove the point, today in our company we support the Dash Common Encryption and CPEX across all our platforms and widely used by all our customers in production. So today I would say it's already reality. There is few things which needs to be improved, and in my particular opinion is the encryption mode, CBC versus CTR. And I think we will be very in good shape in order to move towards a single encrypted format. I will be sure that's conclude my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.